Hey, this is Jeff Batt with LearningDojo.net, and I'm going to talk to you about screen recording tips when you're creating videos or screencasts or anything that you need on your website. And here's some tips that I found that work. There's a lot of other tips, a lot of other things that you can research and find, but here's some things that I like to do when I'm creating these different types of screencasts. So the first thing is screen prep. Now, when I say screen prep, I'm talking about a couple different things that you want to do before you actually start recording your screen. Things that you want to do to your screen specifically, and so it's looks better, it's the right size and optimal and everything for your end user. So the first thing is adjust your computer screen resolution before you actually start recording. Now the reason why is because you don't want to record with your screen resolution too big, because users on a mobile phone are going to have a hard time actually seeing what's going on, especially if you're talking about a software. If you're talking about just slides, well, the slides will actually adapt to whatever size that your screen is, and so that might not be as bad. But if you're getting into talking about Photoshop or any other type of like login application on a website, well, they're going to need to see it. So you want to adjust your resolution so it looks good on a mobile device, it looks good on a tablet, and it looks good on a desktop. Now, I've tried a couple different ways. Now, 1080p is the HD size. You can also go into 4K size as well. Those are a little bit large for a mobile phone. Something that looks great on a mobile phone is the size. So you want to, again, make sure that it works on a mobile phone, but the size also on a tablet and then on a desktop. So the size that I found that works great is 1280 by 720, and that looks good on a phone, looks good on a tablet, and looks good on a desktop. Now, another thing that you want to adjust the size of is your screen, your slides, especially if you're using a 16 by 9 ratio like 1280 by 720. That's a 16 by 9 ratio. Make sure that your slides are 16 by 9 so you don't get the black bars on the side that could be distracting to the user. Make sure that your slides will actually fit your entire screen. Like this one, you see the entire screen is actually being fit, or it fits inside of the screen recording itself. So the next thing is to turn off notifications. The last thing you want to do when you're trying to teach somebody something very important is have email notifications popping up or have time alerts popping up. So turn off your notifications, close down your email, close down anything that might pop up during your recording. Next, you want to remove any other types of distractions. Now, I found that time is actually a distraction. So people may be looking at your screen and say, oh, he was recording at 2:23 p.m. or something. Or also your background screen or anything as far as like files on your desktop. Those could be distractors as well. So basically delete those or move them somewhere on another screen and clean up your desktop as much as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you just what my desktop looks like here. So you can see I have a nice blue solid background, not even a landscape or anything like that, so it's not distracting. And then another thing that you could do is remove these any type of notifications that might be a distractor. So Dropbox or anything that might be on your screen at the top for a Mac or at the bottom for a PC. Remove those so you don't have any type of distractions for your end users. Tip number 2 is to invest in a good mic. You want to make sure that your users are focused on your voice and not the actual popping sound or echoey sound or anything like that. So the mic that I like to use is, when you're investing in a good mic, one that I found that's great is the Blue Yeti microphone. Now you can pick this up at a Mac store, you can pick this up at Best Buy, a lot of different ways to do it, or on Amazon as well. You can pick this mic up, and I think it's about around $100 on Amazon. And it's a great microphone. Again, it's called Blue Yeti, and this is the microphone that I'm currently using as I'm speaking here. You can adjust the volume on the front, you can mute it, you can also adjust the input on the back. It does pick up really good, and so you want to make sure that you turn down the volume, turn down the input, so if you're talking really close, you're not getting a lot of background. And also record at a time where not a lot of stuff is going on at your house, or you can invest in like a little soundboard that goes around it as well. But you definitely, if you're going to do a lot of these screen recordings, you definitely want to have a good mic. Now, sometimes if you have a mic that sits on your desk, you may accidentally knock your desk or something like that, or bump it, or it may be blocking your keyboard. And especially if you need to type something, it's not always good to have that on your desk itself. So two things actually that will come in handy is a boom arm and a shock mount as well. Now, a boom arm is like you see at a radio station, where it actually attaches to the end of your desk, and then you can swivel it in, you can bring it in, and you can move it around as well. Now, this will avoid, if you hit your desktop, hearing that sound of actually hitting your desk, and so the users don't see that or get distracted by that. The shock mount will actually allow you to hook your microphone there, and you can get either of these. The boom arm is about, if you get a Rode boom arm, that's about $100, and the shock mount is about $48 on Amazon. If you're going to get a Blue Yeti microphone, there is a specific shock mount that you have to get as well. But you'll notice how it's actually turned upside down. Now, the reason why I recommend doing it this way, and that's the way I currently have it, is so you can see your keyboard. Otherwise, you still have the microphone right in your face, and it blocks your keyboard. So move it off to the side, still bring it in, and so you can see your keyboard. You may have to talk to the side, but it'll allow you to see your keyboard and see your mouse, what you're doing, and then get the really good sound without hearing a lot of echoey or bumps or anything like that. So the next thing is the pop filter. Now, when you're having to turn down so you're not picking up a lot of echo, a lot of extra noises around your house or your office or anything like that, you're going to have to talk close to the microphone. And if you're talking close to the microphone, your P's are going to pop a lot. And so getting a simple pop filter, and you can find one for as low as $5.99 on Amazon, will avoid hearing the P's and other sounds when you're talking that close to a mic. I talk really close to the pop filter in order to avoid any type of noise in the background or anything like that, or avoid the P sounds coming in really hard as well. Tip number 3 is to get to know your screen capture software. There's a lot of screen capture software, and they're actually a lot of them are great. And they have a lot of different features that allow you to do a lot of different things. And so it's really more of a preference in this case, but it's good to know, okay, how am I going to edit in this? How do I become really proficient in cutting out different things? And what are the types of things that I can do? Can I zoom in on different parts? Can I zoom out? Now, the reason why you would want to adjust your screen resolution is so you don't have to zoom in and zoom out. I found that by zooming in and zooming out on different parts, it was actually making my users dizzy. So you want to avoid zooming in and zooming out as much as possible. There may be some times that you still have to do that, but avoid zooming in and zooming out as much as possible. Different types of software applications do this differently, so it just depends on your software application. 2 software applications that I like, one is for a Mac only, called ScreenFlow, and it records your screen and it allows you to edit right there and add some effects and titles and different things right within the application. Great application. I think it's under $100. I know that for sure. And you can record your screen and record all these different projects and export these out to MP4s or straight to YouTube or straight to Vimeo. Another application that I like is Camtasia. Now, Camtasia does have a version for Mac and it has a version for PC. I actually prefer the Mac version because for some reason it tends to turn out a little bit better and the effects are slightly different, but the PC will still allow you to export to different options as well. In fact, PC gives you a little bit more options. You can export straight to a SCORM file that would then go on a learning management system or something like that, or make it interactive, while Mac doesn't. So it just depends on where you're going to take these recordings and how interactive you want these recordings as well. Tip number 4 is to edit out your pauses and ums. The last thing you want your user to do is wonder if the video is done, if you're going to pause, or if you're waiting for an application to pull up. Well, still wait during your recording, but afterwards edit that out so the user doesn't actually have to wait along with you for something to export or something to pull up. So edit those out, but also edit out your ums. Now, I tend to have more ums or ahs if I don't know actually what I'm talking about or if I haven't practiced something. So make sure that you do that, but edit out those ums so your users are not getting annoyed by those. Now, one other thing that I tend to do is clear my throat a lot, and so I have to edit out those coughs, but take the time. I can't emphasize this enough, take the time to edit out those videos and you'll get a lot better sound, a more professional sound in your videos. And if you don't do that, the users will definitely notice and you'll lose a little bit of credibility by not doing that. So editing out your ums, a way to avoid that is to script something if you have not talked about it a lot. If you, let's say you're talking about something that you know, but you just haven't verbally talked about it, or if you haven't presented it at a conference or something like that, script it out. And when you script it out, you'd want to practice a line. When you practice it, you'd want to practice it line by line. And then again, you can edit out those pauses, use those pauses. So say a line, practice it a couple times, record it, and then go back in and practice your next line and record that as well. You can then edit out those pauses, and especially if it's just on your computer screen, the user won't even know that you've paused for 2 minutes practicing your next line. But when you say your lines, make sure you say it with emotion and passion as well, because if you're just reading a script, the user's going to be able to tell, and they tend to, at least I do, I tend to tune out if I know the user or the speaker is just reading from a script or doing something that they're not engaged with the content that they're actually talking about. Now, if you're thinking through what you say, you may want to if you're reading it, you're not comfortable enough just talking about it, you may want to have your script on a tablet that you have with you and you hold it up when you need it, or you may want to have it on another monitor, or you may want to print it out or something like that. But have that script. Don't rely on that script. I would definitely recommend practicing it or talking about it and then recording it so you don't sound as monotone or like you're reading something. Tip number 6 is to compress your videos. Now this especially comes in if you're going to upload this to YouTube or you're going to upload it to Vimeo. They do a great job at compression, so you don't have to worry about that as much with compression if you're going to go straight to YouTube. But if you're going to place this inside of an e-learning tool like Articulate or like Captivate or something like that, those tools are great, but they don't compress the video as well as you can outside of that tool. And there's other tools that will allow you to compress it even better. My favorite tool is Handbrake. Now Handbrake is available for both Mac and PC, and it's a great tool to not only take DVDs and make those DVDs digital. And so you can take a DVD from a training that you may have from years ago, make that a digital file, edit out some certain parts of that video, and then reuse those parts of the video in your training. Or it'll also take anything that you've recorded in Camtasia or ScreenFlow, and it will compress it so the users, when you import it into Storyline or Captivate, it actually is as compressed as much as possible. Now, why would you want to compress it? Because it makes the file size a lot smaller, which means to the user, when they actually start to watch the video, it's going to load a lot quicker. So you definitely want to spend some time compressing your video, making sure it's ready to go, and importing it. There's a lot of tutorials on how to use Handbrake. You can check out different YouTube videos. You can check out learningdojo.net or something like that, where I have tutorials on how to use Handbrake. But it's definitely something that you want to spend your time doing inside and learning to make sure that you compress your videos. So those are the 6 tips that I use for screen recording. There are a lot of other tips out there. I highly recommend that you share those and what tips that you have found when you're recording, and talk about those as well. So thank you. Again, this is Jeff Batt with learningdojo.net.